Hey, what's up? It's me, Jessica J, and I was just wondering if you've ever sat and thought to yourself, Jessica, why can't I keep the women I really like? Well, if so, I'm glad you asked, because today I'm going to go over the 3 phases of losing out on the women you really want, why it happens, and what you could do about it, and to make sure you never miss out on another opportunity to find out how to keep the women you really like. Or another one of my videos, don't forget to hit that subscribe button with that notification bell. Okay, so I did a call the other day with a client who mentioned to me that he has a habit of losing women he really wants. And when he is in a relationship, it's usually with women he doesn't really want. And sure enough, I get on a call. And sure enough, after doing a deep dive, I came to understand where exactly his gaps are in both his interactions in the early stages and then also as he's starting to like them more. So if you know you need eyes on your interactions with women to see where you are dropping the ball and losing them romantically, physically, emotionally, relationally, book a call with me now. Let's talk about making it happen while you can still talk to me directly. JessicaJDating.com/book. Starting next week or the week after, I'm going to be having somebody else doing these calls for me to discuss whether or not my 90-day coaching program is a good fit for you. So if you know you want to hear from me directly, this face right here on a Zoom call, book right now, JessicaJDating.com/book. Okay, so I'm going to go over the 3 phases of when you lose a woman. And if I were you, I would really assess for where in this process you are losing women once you start to truly like them, because chances are if you're guilty of one of these, you're guilty of all of these. So the first one is before you're even talking to them, or when you are initially talking to them, you tend to put them on a pedestal. You're not going to keep a woman if you have her so high up above you that she is now looking down below you. This puts the attitude out that you need to prove yourself. You might be in a position where she's either out of your league, or she's really gorgeous, or you think she's really cool, or as you're talking, you're realizing just how fucking awesome she is, and you start to subconsciously objectify her where she becomes this great thing as opposed to a human being. And anytime you see her as this great thing as opposed to a human being, we women feel that disconnect where you're no longer treating us like a person, you're treating us like an object. You may not be aware you're doing it, but I see clients do it all the time in their interactions where they forget that this is a human being in front of them, and they start to get all flustered and they feel like they have to prove themselves and they feel like they have to do XYZ in the interaction to get her to think he is a cool guy. Anytime you go down that route, you will lose her. There's no way you're going to keep a woman if you have that frame of mind that she's anything other than a human being that you need to see whether or not she's a good fit for you. Does that make sense? The second phase of you losing out on a woman is when liking her and becoming vulnerable actually triggers your attachment insecurities. So I don't know if y'all are privy to what our attachment styles are. It's like the new thing where you know your attachment style. But if you grew up in a home where your caregiver didn't make you feel secure emotionally, physically, where you were not made to feel 100% loved and safe and valued and protected, we tend to develop attachment injuries. And these always show up in our adult attachments, in our adult relationships. And if you are losing out on a woman when you start to really like her, chances are you may have an insecure attachment around the idea of please don't leave me. But here's the funny thing about that. When you are triggered into that please don't leave me frame of mind, you might start getting clingy. You might start getting needy. You might start trying to over control what she does and try to over control the situation so that she doesn't leave you. And when you do that, you become possessive and you unconsciously objectify her because now she becomes this thing you need to keep and control. This thing you can't possibly lose. And therein lies the paradox of you trying to keep her. It makes her want to get away that much more. And the third phase of losing out on the women you truly want is actually the exact opposite, where maybe you had such a great front in the beginning, the sparks were flying, so much chemistry, and now you're together. But now that you're together, you've stopped dating her. You've stopped connecting. You've stopped engaging. You've stopped romanticizing her. Men want sex to connect, and women want sex when we feel connected. And I see it happen all the time where in relationships we become roommates, we become friends, we become family members because we're no longer connecting on that realm that got us into each other in the first place. And then she becomes just another toaster in your home. For those of you guys who aren't familiar with my toaster analogy, it references you becoming just another stationary object in her life that she's become desensitized to. And you are also capable of turning her into the toaster in becoming desensitized to her presence in your life, where she becomes a stationary object in your life that you expect, that you no longer engage with, that you no longer connect with and speak to, because we don't connect with and speak to our toasters. And all these three things are ways of subconsciously objectifying these human beings in our lives, these human beings sitting and standing right in front of us. And that's exactly what we teach in my 90-day coaching program, is to get you to connect on that intrinsically human level, that level that we all crave, where you feel that connection, you feel those sparks, not just her, but you as well, where you humanize her in ways where you can't see her as out of your league, where you can't see her as this thing you need to keep and trap, where you no longer see her as this thing in your life that doesn't need care or attention. I teach how to communicate in these ways where she feels it and you feel it. And getting it on autopilot, that's connections and sparks all throughout. That's connection, attraction, and motivation to keep it going throughout just by the way you communicate with the women you want. So if you know this is something you're guilty of, really losing out on the women you want, losing the women when you start wanting them, book a call with me right now. Let's talk about ending this phenomena in your life once and for all. JessicaJDating.com/book, and really assess yourself for these three phases, because chances are if you're guilty of one, you might be guilty of all three. And let's talk about putting an end to it once and for all, like I said. And thanks for watching as always. I'll see you guys next time.